not everyone has the same type of wedding anymore. I had a customer say to me, "You're tough, Nancy, but you're fair. Everyone knows you're fair. I don't discount booths. If someone gives up their booth because something happened, the week before, I know they've decided to go on vacation, which people do. They'll invest and then decide to go on vacation. I could call a whole bunch of people and say, I'll give you a booth for half price. Never have done that. I give it to the two people beside it, split it in half. I really have a successful formula, although always have to be open to change.
Nancy Campana is the owner of Nouveau Event Planning and Wedding Shows Windsor, and one of Canada's longest established corporate event management and trade show production specialists. She's built a career creating and producing large-scale events, including Windsor Essex Wedding Show Extravaganza and the Fall Wedding Event, connecting engaged couples with local wedding professionals. Nancy is also the co-founder of the Run for Rocky Legacy Project, which we'll talk more about in the podcast. Nancy, welcome to Cracking the Success Vault. Welcome to another episode of Cracking the Success Vault here with Spectre Group. Today we are joined with our guest, Nancy Campana from Nouveau Event Planning. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to chat with us.
Thank you, Sean. I'm happy to be here.
Good, great. I'm really excited. Obviously, we ran into each other at an event. We're going to talk about what that event was. But Jason and I have come to the wedding shows, which you run at the Kubota Club, and they are fantastic events. They've always been, great networking for different businesses, meeting all of the, brides and groomsmen that are coming up in the area. And you also run other events. So we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of different things here today, as well as personal life, but let's kind of start at the beginning. So where did Nancy grow up? What kind of family did you come from? And then we're going to talk a little bit how it spiraled into this business you run.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Windsor, Ontario. I grew up on Aubin Road. My mother still lives in that house, and she's almost 98.
Wow.
7 of us lived in a small, at the time it was 2-bedroom. My dad added a 3rd bedroom, so we lived very close together, 7 of us. I shared my bedroom with 2 other sisters. And grew up, I would say, like very normal in a neighborhood that was very blue collar worker. A lot of people were Chrysler workers, lived close to the plant. But my dad worked in an office, which was really different from most of the neighbors. And my dad eventually became the president of Green Shield. So my dad was very business minded. And I always say that business kind of adeptness is a gene, and I think I got that gene. Probably the only one in the family that really had the business gene.
Really?
I think so. I mean,
None of
the natural
none of the other
ability.
siblings run businesses, or
No,
Okay.
no, not at all. So, I was pointed into the direction of taking fashion merchandising at Fanshawe College after thinking I wanted to be an English teacher. Just saw that there was such a course at the back of some fashion magazines and started looking into what was available in Ontario. And I went to Fanshawe College for 3 years, and that was a cooperative program. And at the time, I was working part-time at Simpson's, which is going way back. And they took me on full-time. Actually, I had a full-time buying job when I got out of school in Toronto. And I turned it down to come home because my boyfriend was here and wasn't moving to Toronto, he said. So I chose my now spouse of 40 years married and never really regretted that at all. So I was a few years into being the counter manager for Clarence, which was a new line here in Windsor, and Stendhal and Lise Wattier. I ran those counters. Again, I was offered a couple jobs to be territorial supervisor by Clarence. I had to move to Toronto. I stayed where I was. And after a couple years of working at Simpson's, I decided to start my own business. And that was a fashion consulting and cosmetic consulting business. And within a year of doing that, I realized there's no wedding shows to get into in this area. And I wanted to promote my business through a wedding show. So I thought, well, maybe it's a good time to start a wedding show. And when I did my research, they were just starting up in Canada.
Okay. And so, okay, so I didn't, the first part's kind of wild. So out of 7 siblings.
Five siblings.
Five siblings.
There's
siblings.
five of us. Yeah.
Five of you guys. You're the only one who runs a business.
Yeah.
How come you think that kind of rubbed off from your dad on you, but not on the other siblings? Is it just they were interested in other things?
Yeah, I just think I had that business sense, maybe. Had that. I think entrepreneurial spirit is something, again, that's kind of ingrained in you, where you always you're an idea person. I was the entertainment director at Herman Secondary School and student council, so again had that natural ability to organize, and it just all came together.
Yeah. It wasn't like any particular lesson your dad taught you or anything like that. You just kind of
No, and I never even took a
it?
business program in high school because my mother was very much, you take your maths, your sciences, like stay on track. I would have loved to take art and business, but that was kind of something that I wasn't directed to at all.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until college that I moved in that direction. And
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so what was it, obviously working for a company like Simpsons?
Yeah.
What made you then, was it more than just like there's no wedding shows in the area and I wanted to promote myself through that,
Right.
that you just decided I'm going to go create this event company and do all these things? Or was it, and then I'm assuming you did both at the same time for a while.
I didn't.
You quit and just started running this thing?
I didn't. So, and it was a fashion stylizing and cosmetic stylizing. At the time, getting people's colors done was in, so I had taken that certification and course.
Okay.
And I also was at Simpsons at the time that it changed over to Hudson Bay. So I saw that whole transition, which was very cool too. But yeah, no, at the time it was just like, I think I knew I wanted to be a mother. I knew that working in retail really didn't give me the flexibility I wanted to be a mother. So I think the push was probably more, I want to start a home-based business. And I'm going to start off with what I know. I know cosmetics now, and I know fashion. So I'm going to do individual fashion stylizing and cosmetic consulting. And I did people's weddings for makeup. There was no one doing any of that back then. Yeah. So that's then evolved into there's no wedding shows. And I think, and I dropped the other business and started that.
And just started it right away.
Yeah.
And so did you go through the typical transition that most entrepreneurs go through, where like they think they're going to have this great flexibility in time and freedom to do all these things, but then they're actually working like 14-hour days all the time? Or I know that you do the shows now, you do the winter show in January and you do the fall show in September. Yeah. Now you also do other events throughout the year,
right.
But you guys are going, this is your 40th year, which is amazing. Right. Congratulations. But 40 years ago, were you just doing the two shows? Were you doing more? Was it just one?
Yeah. So when I started the wedding show business, we just did the January show.
Okay.
And I did have a partner who was a family member for 2 of those years, but we had very different visions of how to grow the business. My sister and brother-in-law wanted to do a lot more outdoor events, which proved to be very risky. We did a ribbon chicken cook-off and got hit by weather really bad and had brought in big names. So it wasn't the direction I wanted to take. So at that time, we decided to split up the business. And that's when I really started growing the side of corporate event planning and the wedding show. Devonshire Mall came to me probably about 6 years in and wanted me to do a wedding show in the mall. Oh. So we did it was almost a week-long show in Devonshire Mall, and that was the fall show. And then Devonshire Mall asked me to be their fashion stylist. So for years, I produced all their fashion shows. I produced a magazine, helped them produce a magazine called Look Magazine, which was put out 5 times a year. And I did all the fashion writing for that. I did all the pulling of clothes, booking of models. So the business kind of grew in the way that I wanted it to as I as we had family.
Right.
When we had our second son, Connor, my husband, who was working at Maryvale, had the opportunity to job share at Maryvale. So he went down to 2.5 days a week, which then allowed me to do a little bit more again.
Right.
Yeah. So, the whole point of starting my own business was to be a mom and go on my kids' field trips. And I would say, beside the many like very late nights I might have worked once the kids went to bed, and close to events, I think we lived a pretty balanced life. And against all, I guess, business advice, I didn't join a lot of associations. I didn't do a lot of that because we sat down and ate dinner every night together as often as we could. And so I kept my focus on having a successful business, but for, with the purpose in mind that I had wanted to raise my kids and be a mom.
Yeah. And I think people need to hear that, because getting into business for yourself or being this independent salesperson or building your own business or whatever, it doesn't have to be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 4 years thing. You can set your parameters, and as long as you're efficient and you're focused, you can get done a lot of work in a short window of time if you don't have any distractions.
Yeah, and that's really what I, concentrated on. And I find these days the biggest distraction is I'll have a list of things I want to get done today, and then the emails come in, and I try to be a 24-hour response time in my emails, and sometimes it's 2:00 in the afternoon and I haven't checked off one thing because I'm working on emails. So. Yeah.
I mean, between emails, social media, it's just so easy to get distracted by so many things nowadays.
It is.
Right? Because everything's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Right? So, but when you started this business, it wasn't like that.
No. So
you guys were 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You mentioned to me that your first show was in the basement of what is now the St. Clair Center for the Arts.
Correct.
I forget the old name.
Correct. It was, it used to be the Cleary Auditorium.
The Cleary.
Yes.
Everybody calls it the Cleary now, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
St. Clair Center for the Arts. And then you did it 1 year there?
We were actually there 2 years.
2 years.
Yes. Yeah. We were there 2 years. The first year I was pregnant for our firstborn child. And then we did the second year there, and then they were closing down for the renovations that you see today, the modern St. Clair Center for the Arts. And at that time, Caboto Club was just opening with their huge new expansion. They used to only have the Caboto Hall, which is that back hall with the wooden floor.
Yeah.
So they put on that whole front of the building, and that was a dream come true.
Yeah.
From there, we, felt like we were outgrowing that at some point, and we've waited for years and years for a trade show space in this city, and it's never come about. So, the Caboto Club's where we're at for our January show. We use every single hall in the building, every hallway,
it is
and
crazy.
it works. It really does
great.
work for us, So, and the Caboto Club knows us, and we know them, so we've got a great working relationship too.
And so, did it take long? Because I'm assuming that wedding shows, let's say 40 years ago, were around, but just not in the Windsor area, right? Were there others in London or Toronto, and you made the idea happen down here?
Yeah, you know what? I think at the time that I started the wedding show, there was one in Calgary and there was one in Toronto that had just started. So
that was really it.
Looking back on it, I could have expanded very easily across Canada, but that would have lost the focus of why I was doing it,
100%.
right? So
the first couple of years, did you, again, sometimes businesses start slow, sometimes they start really fast. Did you sell out everything you thought you would sell out first few years and then moving to the Caboto, or did you start a little slower and just gain traction as it grew every year?
So the first year we started sales late. I want to say I came up with the idea in November and we had the show in January. So I want to say we maybe had about 40, 45 booths.
That's a lot.
And then the next year at St. Clair, the Cleary Auditorium, we sold 80 to 85, and then we moved into the Caboto Club. And then from there, just expanded every year. At the Caboto Club, we used that old Caboto Hall for full-scale fashion shows. Nothing like you see today. Back then, fashion shows were huge. There was no internet. for brides to be able to see like a full production fashion show was a big deal. We used to have fights in the hallway, people trying to, like, literally trying to get into the room because we could only accommodate so many people
Wow.
at each show. So, it just keeps evolving and changing. Today, like I say, we use every room. We've gone to one of the lower level halls for our fashion shows and more boutique style, intimate. We use that Kubota hall for booths, and then we use a couple rooms downstairs for booths. We at one time the Kubota hall was used for an interactive wedding gallery, so we had a little smaller fashion shows. We had food tasting. That changed after COVID, so it just keeps evolving, and I try to stay in tune with trends, and I think more than ever, what I'm seeing in the last couple of years is our attendance is increasing again. And I think it's because couples are just tired of being online, and they're really valuing face-to-face communication. They're actually shocked when they come to the door and they get a gift bag. Like what they get versus their admission, they walk out with a lot more than what they would have imagined. And our staff greets them at the front door, and they're always like, "Oh, everyone was so nice." They're just not used to that.
Yeah.
And so, it's very valuable to couples to meet people who they're actually going to be
100%.
hanging out with a lot.
Especially after COVID. I mean, like, I don't know if I did the right thing, let's say, but for me, when COVID happened, I was kind of like I have enough savings and I'll get through it and it's not a big deal and stuff like that. But everybody was like, "Oh, this is fantastic. I can just meet a ton of people online. I don't have to leave my house." And I was like, "But I like meeting in person. I like having face-to-face conversations." I never figured a person would want to meet with me once or twice on a virtual thing and then invest their life savings with some person they've never met in person. Right. And so I didn't really do a lot of business during COVID. But once everything was back open, everybody wanted to meet in person all the time. Yeah. And I think, like you're saying, I think that it's taken just a couple years for, I think, other people to be like, we do like the interaction with people, and we as human beings need that interaction with people. And so I love the fact that, because my wife said the same thing when I proposed in February of 23. We got married in June of 23, but we did go to the show in January before that just to see, because I convinced her. But she loved it. She loved showing up. She loved getting the gift. It was just different.
Yeah. And I think, it's not a flea market show. It's not just tables set up in an empty room. It's a beautiful show. You can really come and imagine what your wedding might look like. And also a wide range of vendors for different budgets, which is really important too, for people to be able to shop around, because not everyone has the same type of budget. More and more in the wedding industry, not everyone has the same type of wedding anymore. We're seeing weddings in restaurants, backyards. I'm getting calls from camper dealerships, like rental dealerships, because so many people are having their weddings on farmland or relatives' farmland, and they're bringing in campers for their out-of-town guests to stay in right on site. Wow. So it's really whatever your imagine is, whatever your budget is, what your idea is, you can really do it these days. Another thing we're seeing is a lot of more cocktail kind of swanky receptions, where not a sit-down meal, but really great hors d'oeuvre service, and then amazing food bars, and then get the dancing going with not a lot of formalities. So it's all over the place, and I think that's wonderful. And then that brings in new vendors that we've never had before either. Right. I would have never imagined we'd have a camper rental company in the business.
I was just about to say, it's amazing to not only, again, be in business for 40 years, but to keep up with the trends and to see, you're not obviously going to all these other wedding shows. Are you just searching things online? Are you asking people or just getting feedback from people, what they're doing? How have you managed to keep up with these constant changes of what brides and grooms are thinking about, and how to add a different vendor into the show that you haven't had before.
Right. So I think what I see is the inquiries coming in. Like in the last couple of years, wedding planners. Like it used to be one or two wedding planners in the city. There are so many wedding planners now. That's a product of COVID. So many people realize that all the work it took to do the cancellations, do the rebooking, rewrite contracts. A wedding planner is invaluable, whether you want someone from start to finish, a month of the wedding or a day of the wedding. Yeah. I think even parents understand, like, we're not going to be the ones loading up the car before and after, getting everything there. Wedding planner has almost become a staple where it never, ever was. It was like a luxury product. Now it's in the budget line for a lot of couples. And like I say, that might be just day of, but it just relieves a lot of stress for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my wife and I, we got married at Wedding in the Woods, and Alex like ultimately kind of came with the service to an extent. I mean, we paid her the additional service to like help, but she thought of so many things that we didn't even think of. And we were one of those crazy couples that like, I think there was like 110 days between our engagement and our wedding.
That's the best way to go.
And it was just like, we would never have thought of all of these things that she thought of. And it was, having a planner was just like an amazing thing to have, because there would have been so many things that were missed.
Right. And then another trend we're seeing because of outdoor weddings is food carts and specialty foods. Even a lot of people will bring them indoors for late night snacks. Bartending services. Those are, businesses that really, they were there, but they weren't thriving. Now they're thriving because of the change in the wedding industry. We're seeing a huge increase in restaurant weddings here in the city, where people are just renting out the restaurant and having, depending on the capacity, 50 to 125 people. And that's where people are doing their wedding. Yeah. Instagram has changed the whole wedding industry, and it's all about the picture. Yeah. And a lot of people will say to me, no. And I go, oh, yes. Like decorating is over the top when you're having that bigger wedding and a more lavish wedding. I mean, it's all about the Instagram pictures, and couples are looking for vendors who can create that Instagram picture for them.
Yeah. And so is that how you've managed to just keep up with trends then, is just pay attention to the Instagram, the social media, what other people are doing?
I read a lot. I mean, I read a lot of wedding material and, like I say, watch my suppliers, really stay in tune with new people that are reaching out to me, or new people locally that I see on Instagram in the wedding industry. When you start looking at wedding stuff, of course, you get lots of wedding stuff, right? Yeah. So, and I think I also have always had an intuition with where things are going in business too. Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. And when you say you have an intuition in business, like, is this you have a gut feeling of something that's happening and you follow it? Have you ever not followed your gut on something?
Oh God, yes.
And has it worked out or not?
I have gotten better and better at that as I've gotten
older. It's just funny because I always tell people, even my own sales guys, I'm like, if you have a gut feeling that you shouldn't do this thing, or should do it, like, you should probably do it.
Right.
Because anytime I've looked back on my life and been like, this didn't work the way I thought it was going to work, it's because I didn't go with my gut feeling.
Yeah. And that's part of the risk of being an entrepreneur, right? That gut, I think, works out a majority of the time than not, for sure. And you're a financial planner, so picking stocks and things like that, I'm sure you had lots of guts where you say, I should have done that, and so have I, right? But listening to your gut, I think, is important, and then knowing how to decipher the noise around that feeling, like, why do you have that gut feeling? But I also, watch fashion a lot, and fashion often depicts wedding trends, things like the Grammy Awards and the Oscars, and what people are wearing, and trends in those after parties. They all trickle down.
Yeah. Because everybody sees it online and wants to try to recreate it in some fashion because it looked cool or great or beautiful.
Yeah. Our first few shows, there wasn't even a decorator in the city. There was no such thing as a decorator. And by the way, if anyone's looking for a business, I'm decorating is a business where there's a shortage of in this area right now. There's a larger investment, right, to get into the
Stuff and
business,
all that,
but definitely I'm seeing a decline since COVID, and a lot of business owners are getting to an age where they don't want to be on a ladder for
sure.
hours at a time.
Yeah.
So it's an amazing
Interesting.
business if anyone's looking for business ideas.
Interesting. What other things are you seeing right now that maybe are declining or aren't where they could be besides decorators?
I think in our shows, I think the photography market got so saturated
Oh, there's so many
that those
photographers.
photographers that go into the show do very well because they get that face to face.
Yeah.
But we at one time had a wait list, I would say before COVID, of like 60 photographers. And then after COVID, even more people got into it. So I think it's hard to make a living just being a wedding photographer. I think, you have to be unique maybe in other products you're delivering, and maybe tie social media if you're good at social media to your business. And
Yeah. So when you're running the show, then how do you determine how many from each market you bring or allow a person to have a booth? Obviously, you don't want to have 60 photographers at the wedding
Right.
show. So is there typically like a certain number that you like to have?
yeah, at one time we had limits and now we don't. Once again, after 40 years, you kind of know, like, 30 financial planners are not why the people are coming to the show. So, we usually keep that to under 5 for our larger show. So it's, again, just and a lot of times photographers now offer different services. Some might offer video. I have a photographer that does decor as well. So, it's just a matter of judgment at this point. And we try to make sure that when people walk through our shows, they're not seeing a photographer after photographer. So,
Right.
yeah.
Even if there are 5 or 6 or so, they're spread out
Oh, yes.
throughout
Yeah,
all the different halls that you
exactly.
use.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And so is the business then, is it where you always envisioned it to be? Did you have a vision to get it to this point like 40 years ago? Did you think it was going to be bigger, or was it just very much about balance between business and family?
That's a really good question. I think the point where I'm at now is I really have a successful formula, although always have to be open to change. So I guess when anyone starts out a business, they hope for success, right? And they hope it. So that's a hard question because I do think, I don't know if I envisioned it the way it is today, but I did want it to be like successful and big and the wedding show that people came to. And I was able to buy weddingshows.com over the years as well, and weddingshows.ca. So that's given me a lot of leverage as well. So I think it's probably definitely where I would have wanted it if you said to me back 40 years ago, what do you want this business to look like? Did I think I'd be going at it for 40 years? Maybe not, but at the same time, I love what I'm doing. So,
yeah. I mean, when we had coffee the other day, you seem like you absolutely just like love putting on an event, putting on a show, making sure that those that come to the event have just an absolutely phenomenal experience, and you want that standard to continue.
Yeah. And what really drives me at this point is helping young entrepreneurs start their businesses. That I have a passion for that. And we see a lot of new businesses like pretty much start their business at the wedding show. They might be 6 months old and they're like, I don't know how to find engaged couples, or how do I increase it? Everyone kind of thinks Instagram's going to be the magic bullet. It's not the way Instagram, the algorithms now. So we can pretty much guarantee the numbers through each of our shows. And it's just, that's the other difference. We used to do a show and walk away. We used to do 10 days of advertising in the Windsor Star, 10 days of advertising on AM 800, and then walk away. Posters up around the city in the stores. That's it. Yeah. Now we market all year long. So Facebook and Instagram every day, every single day, maybe the odd day missed in a year, we post, and we only post about our vendors. Our vendors get a lead list that couples sign off on that we can share. So the lead list comes after the show to them. Our vendors get a digital listing on weddingshows.com. It's a shop online, plan your wedding. And a lot of small businesses are telling me that's where people are finding them all year long. So it's coming up high in Google searches. That was developed through COVID. I was able to get a Women's Entrepreneur Grant, and that digital site was
Wow.
yeah. So if you search now limousines in Windsor, or wedding limousines, anything wedding category,
Anything.
it's our website will
Wow.
come up fairly high.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you have a digital listing up there.
I know, but I never searched anything.
Yeah.
Right?
So like I say, a lot of our smaller businesses, like Officiants for one, they don't have much presence, right? A lot of people find them after the show there. And then we also give discounted ads in our programs, and our digital listing if people want to upgrade. And the final thing we do is when new businesses come into the show, we try to help them. Like I'll tell them, call me. Like not too many questions is okay. Like a lot of them say, I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, no, that's what I'm here for. So very open to help answer questions leading into the show. We give vendors kind of a vendor success workbook. What to do before the show, what to do at the show, what to do after the show. I mean, we keep updating that.
We've done it so many years in a row that we're used to what's going on. But when we first started, I want to say 4 years ago when we did the show, it was a huge help because you don't really know, especially as someone like brand new, you don't really know like what you're walking into or like how many people are actually going to be at this show or, how to get people to make sure they stop at your booth or make sure that you have enough people at your booth that you can answer all the questions when there's 5 couples that come up to you at the same time, right? Like small business owners and people who are starting on this entrepreneur journey, the biggest thing that I have always told people is like, there is no dumb question. Yeah. Like ask. Yeah. If people, if you're running a I don't know, whatever, if you're running a pastry shop, go ask some people that run pastry shops some questions because most likely business owners are willing to help you because they don't want you to see the same mistakes that they had. Right. So being able to ask those questions and being able to open yourself up to answer all of those questions from new business owners at the show is like just such a like an irreplaceable feature that you add that no other person does. Yeah.
And I mean, we want to distinguish ourselves. We're not a flea market show. Yes, our booth prices might be double of what just setting up a table might be somewhere. But you're going to get someone when they come in helping you set up, like showing you where your booth is. You're going to get direction before, after, and during the show. And so we pride ourselves in that. With that being said, our booth prices are probably at least half the price of Toronto shows now. And definitely less than even London, Ontario by a large margin. So again, at 40 years, my passion is to help young entrepreneurs continue helping established customers in the wedding industry. And could I charge more for a booth? Yeah, I could, but that I don't need to. That's not where I'm at. I want to see people in the wedding industry survive and thrive.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love it, I love the story because you're just so. I guess the right way to say it would be like, I don't want to use the word balanced, but whether it's like personal life and business life or making money versus having business owners succeed, like you're like, I want to be in the middle where I'm successful and others are successful, but at the same time, I don't want to charge them an arm and a leg for a booth. And I also want to have like time with my family. Like you're in this like really middle ground, which is amazing because I think most of us would love to be there. Yeah. Right. Like I always say,
and it is hard some days.
It's hard. I always say when I got into business for myself, like it's because I wanted to have control of my time, freedom to be at my kids' sporting events and stuff like that when I had kids. And luckily I have a 1-year-old, so like I've got more time until that happens. Right. And that was because my dad was always working when I was competing in swimming, and he was never there because he had to work. Yeah. Right. And so I just had this like growing up, I was like, my dad worked for me so that I could do these things,
Right.
but I didn't want to have to be that person that missed all my kids'
Yeah.
events. Right.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully when my kid is old enough that I'm, making
Yeah.
time to make sure that I'm there for those
Yeah.
things.
And I think
but
you'll be able to
you
do
just
that.
have this good balance. It's just amazing.
The one thing I had a vendor, probably to me, the nicest compliment I've ever gotten from a customer is I had a customer say to me, "You're tough, Nancy, but you're fair. Everyone knows you're fair. I don't discount booths. If someone gives up their booth because something happened, the week before, I know they've decided to go on vacation, which people do. They'll invest and then decide to go on vacation. I could call a whole bunch of people and say, I'll give you a booth for half price. Never have done that. I give it to the two
next
people
person.
beside it, split it in half. So I've always tried to be fair to my customers and keep their best interests, because it's not going to do me any good to be discounting booths and then my customers that have been with me for, 30 years find out the person next to them paid for half the booth price.
And they're gonna, if you don't think,
I won't do it.
And if you don't think they're gonna find out, they're gonna find out.
Yeah, they do.
Like
They talk.
Everybody talks.
They talk.
I'm fully on board with that, because I love even just Jay and I in the office were joking about this the other day, because you one of the strictest rules you have is no one packs up before the end of the day, and I love it.
Yeah.
But you always see those
You do.
5 or 10 booths.
You always do.
And they're like, well, it's 4:55 and no one's really here, and Nancy's giving away the prizes, so we're gonna pack up early. And you're always like, put your stuff back.
Yeah, it's so unprofessional.
It's so unprofessional.
I've honestly, last year's fall wedding show, I had someone do the biggest deal he had ever done, a DJ. Within 5 minutes, and we waited. We waited, for him.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't push him out. He was there for an hour after the show, and he was like, "Thank you." Like, that person came to my booth 5 minutes before they raced through. They knew they wanted to get a DJ, and they booked with me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's. I learned this interesting rule. Probably, I want to say, I guess, when was I working at Sleep Country? Probably 8 years ago. 9 years ago, probably right before I moved here. And there was always the regional sales guy told us this story where one of the sales guys, he would always leave like 10 to say 20 minutes early if he was at the bottom of the list. And so, if 4 sales guys are working that day, they have like an up system where, this person gets the first person who walks in the door, and so on and so on. And if the guy was at the bottom of the list, he would always leave 10 to 15 minutes, let's say, early every day. And at the end of the year, he didn't make quite the sales target that he wanted to make for himself, and was kind of upset. And the regional manager just said, listen, if there's one thing you change this whole next year, I just want you to stay to the end of your shift, every shift.
Yeah.
Just stay the extra 15 or 20 minutes. Just do that for me. Don't change anything else. Your sales process is good and your customer service is good, but just stay the extra 20 minutes. And at the end of the year, he made 30% more money, because the amount of people that are like, the store's closing in 10 minutes. There would be like 5 or 6 or 7 more people that would come in the last 10 minutes.
That's
but he would always
research.
miss.
Yeah.
Right? Like I did it the other day. My wife was like, we need chicken for tonight. And I was like, oh, Steve Green's down the street. Oh, he closes in 10 minutes. I got to get there.
Yeah.
And you get there at like 2 minutes early, or 2 minutes before the door locks.
Yeah.
But then you sell something that you weren't expecting to sell that day if you would close the door 5 minutes early.
Right. Yeah, it's proven research that people that come the last 30 minutes into a store or a trade show are there for a reason. They're not paying, well, we don't charge them probably if they come in 30 minutes before, but even that last hour, they're not paying to come because they just want to leisurely walk through the show. No. They're paying to buy something or to get things done at a trade show. And it's proven.
They're in a hurry.
Research. Yeah.
They want to
get it done. They have goals and they want to get it done. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that rule, because it's just like, for me, it's the professionalism, right? Because it's not just you, it's a reflection of the entire show.
Absolutely.
If a bunch of people start leaving before the show's over and there are still people coming and walking through, like, it's not just the business it's the
their
entire
liability
show,
as well.
Right?
It's their liability. Yeah. It's like, there's a lot involved in it. And a lot of times, it could be head office
Yeah.
owned, so the head office doesn't know this is happening. So we always, if there's a blatant packing up early and out of there, and we've seen it like even an hour before, we let head offices know like your staff wasn't there until the end of the show,
Yeah.
and they're like, "What?
Yeah.
They're paying these people to be there."
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's change topic a little bit. So you've been running this business for 40 years. You also have a family life that you've done lots of, I'll call it balance with, making sure that you're home for dinners and stuff like that. But where we sort of reconnected outside of the wedding show itself, I want to talk a little bit about this since we have some time, is I came out to Harrow to the Run for Rocky, and I was completely blown away because of the story that you told, but I didn't expect to obviously see you there. And then I was like, oh, Nancy's here. I should go talk to Nancy. And then Craig Ramsey brought you up to speak about Rocky. And I was kind of blown away because I too, and I've shared on the podcast with my uncle taking his own life. What is that like and you can obviously explain the story with Rocky to whatever extent you want to explain the story. But what is that like running a business and having something so dramatic happen in your personal life and still being, this self-employed person that doesn't just have benefits and bereavement time and all this kind of stuff? Like you still have to do stuff, right? Because you are self-employed and you are but at the same time, such a tragic thing happens. Yeah. How did you manage all of that?
It was awful.
Yeah.
With that being said, you never prepare for that, but my husband had a heart attack when he was 43. So I had gone through tragedy at that age and still having to run a business. And at that time being alone, making sure he was recouping, and we had the 3 kids at that time. So, and then I lost a brother a year before that to suicide, a year before Rocky passed away. And I was the person that stepped in and oversaw all his finances, and totally unexpected. Again, the emotional turmoil of that was huge, but I still had a business to run. I had 3 pregnancies while running a business. The first one, the business was just starting, so I took, I think I just worked 1 or 2 days a week and took maybe 2 months off before I went at it. And then the second one was more like 3 weeks off. And my third one was a little bit of a surprise. So I had her on a Saturday, was out of the hospital Sunday, and back to work Monday. Now, thank God I had Rob taking paternity leave for Kirsten and Connor, or second and third. So that helped. But I mean, the office was in the house and I was still able to feed the kids, and, it all worked out well. When Rocky took his life, of course, it was devastating, and I was, from what psychologists will tell you, you're in a kind of state of PTSD for probably 5 years. So, I'll meet people now, and they'll say, "Oh, I met you like in this year, or I met you in it." It's like a fog almost. So I want to say I traveled through time in somewhat of a fog, but on autopilot of doing what I knew how to do best, and that was event planning. So Rocky passed away 2 weeks later. I was organizing an event for Devonshire Mall. It was called The Big Reveal, and it was produced on film, and it was a show. David Clemmer from Toronto, who's a big fashion stylist, came down to do it, and it was a fundraiser, and I was his backup person. So David, I was the person that pulled all the clothes and fitted all the models, but David acted like he did when he came in and did the show. So it was a really cool opportunity. It was 2 weeks after Rocky passed away. I had a co-op student, Chantel Parent, who's business-minded, family-owned Family's First Funeral Home at the time. And Chantel had been my co-op student and was planning on moving to Toronto. And right after Rocky passed away, she said, "Do you need help?" And I said, "Chantel, yes." And she came and didn't go to Toronto and worked with me in the office for 2 years. And what a perfect person, a person who had been around, grief her whole life, young but wise beyond her years, and really is like a daughter to me. I had her in the office, and one of my best friends is a psychologist, and we golfed a lot together, and she was like a second mother to Rocky. They have no children. And so she was going through the same grief. But yeah, I got on autopilot, and I knew the work that Rocky wanted done because he talked a lot to us. He came out when he was in grade 12. He talked about the challenges he had faced, and he also, talked about he had just gotten a job with Procter and Gamble, and it was his dream job. And only 0.01% of graduates in Canada get an interview with Procter and Gamble. So through Procter and Gamble, he had to do community service work. And he wanted to go and talk to GSAs, which were just mandated by the Ontario government that if a student asked for a GSA had to be formed within a school.
And you said this at coffee, GSA. What exactly is GSA?
So GSA, back when they started in 2012, were under the name Gay Straight Alliances. Okay. A lot of schools have now moved to Gender and Sexuality Alliances. Other schools have. I have one school in the city that calls herself the Quilt Bag Group because there's a book about a quilt bag and the different pieces that come together. Okay. So it's a club that supports people under the 2S LGBTQIA plus community and their allies. A lot of times we see allies being part of the club and doing advocacy work, or just even students who feel like they don't have a place in the school and they can go to the club and just be part of being accepted for who they are. Yeah. So I met with the director of Windsor Pride in October. Rocky passed away in August, and Bob Williams at the time. And he asked to meet with me, and I said, yeah, we've never met, but we should meet. And we both said at the same time, I said, I want to do a fundraiser. I want to do something. And we both said, run for Rocky. And Rocky had just run in the Toronto Pride run. He had done it for 2 years in a row in June. And the second year he did it, he was the third highest fundraiser. And he had just moved to Toronto. So he was very successful at everything he touched. Rocky had that business gene. He was a graduate of Ivy Business School. Oh, wow. And he knew how to make money from when he was 13 years old. And he was just very business-minded, very smart. So, so the first run for Rocky happened in April of 2013. And at the time, Rocky attempted to take his life. He was alive for 2 days, and we couldn't donate his organs or anything, eyes, anything. And, the conversation basically led to he was gay. And so at that time, there wasn't standard policy, although there was policy, but no one really knew what it was. Sure. So during that October to April time, we started a Canada-wide petition that all healthy donors should be able to donate. And there was a testing system out at the time, but they weren't using it, saying it was too expensive. Wow. So, there's a lot of people, whether they're straight or gay, that have risky sexual behavior. Yeah, and so there's a test that tells you.
Yeah, 100%.
Actually, in Canada in the last 2 months, that's just finally been approved. That's amazing. The petition did go to Parliament, was tabled in Parliament. And after that, I've sat on a number of patient advocacy groups in Canada through Health Canada and through a doctor that's doing research out of Manitoba. Mm-hmm. And so change was made, I think, through some of those processes. Yeah. So the first run for Rocky was way more successful than what we imagined. We raised over $70,000.
Wow.
It was a kind of dreary, cold April day. And
that's why you moved it to August when it would be sunny.
well, we did the run for 5 years. It's a run walk.
So I was going to say, because we met Craig. I did a podcast with Craig. That's kind of how I ran into this. And my wife and I are going to do the walk with our son. Hopefully he's walking by then. If not, we'll push him in the stroller or whatnot. But my understanding is you guys did it for a period of time and then you took a break.
So we did it for 5 years. We had a funding model that was really working well. We had money in the bank, and as a family, we needed a break. Like every year, it was rehashing. And it was something that we did. We would have never done the run without our kids saying, do it. Right. It's something they totally support it. But we just needed a break. And, talking to the news every year. And so, and at the time, Bob Williams at Windsor Pride was looking at possibly retiring. There was some shift. So we thought this is a good time just to take a break. So we took a 5-year break, and a lot of people were saying, we're missing this so much. We're missing this so much. And the funding model was being used more and more. So it's good to replenish, right, to continue that. So we spoke with Windsor Pride Fest, and they said, we'd love to have it as part of our lineup in August. And that's why we moved it to August.
Okay.
So it's part of Windsor Pride Fest now. If the day comes that Rob and I can no longer organize it, they can. So hopefully it will be an event that stays in Windsor for many, many years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And so the funds that are raised, where do they go?
Okay.
So people know.
Yep. So if anyone wants to look at the exact funding model, runforrocky.com, everything's there, but I'll just spew off a few of the things. GSA Leadership Scholarships, we're awarding that in 2 weeks. We just went through applications, and once we award that, we've given out $69,000 in scholarships.
Wow.
GSA grants. So schools can apply for grants, GSA clubs every year, whether that's for books in the library. Yes, we're the book people. Books in the library that all kids can relate to. Yeah. Murals on walls. I just was at Catholic Central today. Believe it, Catholic Central has a whole safe space area with a pride color, 4 pride color and direct chairs that they applied for a Run for Grant a few years back, and then actual art piece, and now they've got a big mural on the wall, and they want to continue it into the stairwell. So,
that's amazing.
All kinds of grants. We've given out grants for speakers. We've given out grants for teacher resources. We've given out grants for there's just so many things.
So anybody that is looking for grants, they can find everything on runforrocky.com.
The grant application and all the guidelines are there. Wow. Yeah, as well as the scholarship application. Okay. And then we do, Caesars Windsor has given us a substantial amount of money over the years, directed only to educating educators. So we just bought a $70 resource book for 50 schools in the city that have GSAs. We also do teacher training. EGAL Canada has come in and done training for guidance counselors. So there's one person in the school that if parents come to them, they can help direct them. So educating educators is a big component. We now do what we call a GSA booster bag. It was a big box that we distributed full of supplies for GSA teachers. So it would be like a basketball team not having uniforms or, whether these are games, conversation cards, all kinds of resource materials for teachers that they can distribute to other educators in the school when they're asking, or to parents. So just a ton of resources. Every year now we do a booster bag to up those supplies. Those go out every April. We also do help educators training through the University of Windsor. They have a summer program that gives, I believe it's called an EQA, that additional credits that teachers can get on understandanding diversity in their students. We get students and educators to conferences. And Thursday, EGAL Canada is doing a GSA conference here in Windsor, and they picked Windsor as their Ontario location. They used to do it all over Canada, and we used to get students, help fund students and educators to get there. Life-changing. I've had students tell me it literally saved their life going to a conference like that and being around other people.
I remember you saying at coffee, the one really big story that kind of stuck with me, and again, I've never felt like this, was you said something along the lines of the amount of times that you've heard people say that they weren't the minority in a room.
They weren't the majority.
They were the majority in the room.
Walking into a conference for a student like that,
and I tried to process that for a couple of days. I was like, I don't know if I've ever
Yeah.
walked into a room and not been
Right.
the majority of something.
Yeah. It was a really profound statement by a grade 11 student who was attending the Canada-wide GSA conference that EGAL put on here. I want to say that was in 2017, maybe 2019. And they walked right up to me within the first 5 minutes and said, "This is the first time I've ever been a majority in a room." And to me, I had to sit back and think about that.
Yeah.
You just, as a straight person, do not know that feeling, right?
No.
And then think if you're a person of color
Yeah.
and part of the LGBTQ community, like,
It just like goes down the line.
right.
Yeah.
It really, really does. I think, the most important thing that Run for Rocky does is the support and visibility we give in the community. Oh, another thing we do is we have QR code signs that businesses, doctors' offices can get. And it says support for your rainbow family in the community. And it QR codes all the agencies in the city. So we make sure those are, whoever wants one, I pick up 50 of them tomorrow. So just that education. Yeah. We've always been about education, not pushing, perspectives, just education. Right. And that has really worked. It's helped a lot of families. A lot of parents have come to us and said, thank you for being a voice. Because a lot of parents have been embarrassed to talk about their kids, being part of the community for whatever reason. Sometimes they don't know how their family's going to react. Sometimes they don't know how their friends are going to act. It's given people some empowerment, a voice, and they feel like their family belongs. Yeah. And so that, another big goal for me was, we used to have a lot of LGBTQ people leaving to go to Toronto because they didn't feel there was any place in Windsor or schools maybe once they had their children. Windsor now has the largest number of GSAs probably from here to bigger communities, whether that's Kitchener or Waterloo. For a community our size, there's a lot of support here and a lot of great agencies doing work, and we're all working together.
Yeah, listening to the story that Craig told, obviously I knew his personal story from doing the podcast with him, but hearing you and him talk that day out at the Run for Rocky launch, just how things have changed in the area for people is completely different than where it was 10 years ago, right? Yeah. Like all these bigger cities obviously are going to change a little bit faster. They're more people, bigger community already because there's just more people. Yeah. But, I'll call it little old Windsor, Essex it's just different, right? Yeah. You're farther away from the bigger cities. There's less people, and just hearing how things have changed.
Yeah. And, we're going through a time of pushback because of what we're seeing in the United States. And you see the rhetoric online here in comment sections. Yeah. But I say to people, something as simple as flying that pride flag at schools for 1 week, 1 week in June. I don't know how many people I've had email me or say to me, I was back in Windsor and I couldn't believe I saw that flag flying back in Amherst, right? Yeah. And it's like, I never thought I would see that. That just made my day. Yeah. And I think, these people who want to talk the hate, want to push the ideology that's really false, need to think maybe one day that flag might help your child, your grandchild, your great-grandchild, just to walk through the doors of a school. Right. And if that saves that person's life, or having a GSA in the school helps them get through their high school years, which we all know are the hardest years, then just let it go. Yeah. Everyone needs a place.
100%.
Yeah. And these teacher leaders that we have in the school are so passionate about just being there for these students.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's about support, right? And whether it's through GSAs, whether it's through business, whether it's it's just like support is just, so, it's just needed. Yeah. Right. I mean, even just looking at your business from the event planning side of things and how much you support new business owners who are trying to get their career off, there's no difference between that and trying to support someone who's trying to understand who they are at such a pivotal moment in their life. Right. Right. I mean, just being able to be there to have a conversation with someone is just super important.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But doing all of that and running a business, I mean, that's just like, obviously it's something you got more involved in,
Yeah.
obviously after Rocky passed. Have you found it challenging to do both?
Um, certain times of the year. I mean, the good thing is kind of Run for Rocky gets very, very busy towards the end of March. April, May, June's a busy month. July, August. And that's kind of my lead up time more for the wedding shows where I'm selling. So it's not like the managing, all those final details. So the balance is okay. Yes, I work more hours again, closer to events than maybe I'd like to sometimes. But again, a passion for it, right? So, and it's something that will kind of keep me in the event planning business one day if I do retire.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Who knows where it leads,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's good work. And it's work that, I could make more time for when that happens. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we are running out of time. I've kept you a little bit longer than I said I'd keep you. We always end the podcast asking our guest one question, which is to Nancy, what does success mean to you?
I think you already described it for me, and it was that I was able to have a business that has been fulfilling, has made me an independent woman, I think, who could share that with the family, right? The fruits of my labor. My husband was able to go part-time to give us that balance of family life. And I think I've most of the time had that balance as well. I know I've definitely, been a mom that's been there almost all the time, whether it's a kid's soccer game, like you said, or a field trip or a call. Mom, I need you right now, and I'm in the middle of work. I can drop it and I can go. Yeah. And so that's the success I was looking for, and that's really what it's meant to me, the reason I started my business. And I've always been very grateful that I have been able to achieve that balance.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think balance is one of the things that I think most entrepreneurs are sort of trying to look for, right? Obviously, sometimes maybe it takes a little bit longer than what maybe people thought it would be. Or they need to work on things like systems and processes or something like that. But I think that's what we're all out there for. A little bit more control of time, a little bit more freedom, flexibility.
Yeah. And I think knowing when to say no is important, which is hard for entrepreneurs. So knowing when to say no and knowing when enough is enough. Even as far as money, right? Because like I said, I could expand at the wedding shows throughout Canada and probably been very, very wealthy, extremely wealthy many years ago. But in the end,
wasn't the vision you had.
As we know, as a family, life is short, and we do big events all the time. Like every event, birthdays, whatever, they're big events. I'm not the gardener who doesn't garden. Our house is the event house, and we really celebrate life. Awesome. When it's the happy times.
You need to. Absolutely. And again, as you just mentioned, I mean, unfortunately, as you guys are aware, life is short, right? And some of those moments, they just, they need to be celebrated when you have them, because we all need to be aware that you just don't know.
Yeah. I just watched Martin Short's documentary this week, and it just came out, and he's a Canadian, but it's, I highly suggest it. I have a feeling he had the same mentality, and it was really, really a good watch. And he's Canadian, so
I love a good documentary.
Yeah, it was very good.
Interesting. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to say to the people listening or watching, whether it's about the events that you have, what's coming up, where they can find you, anything like that?
Well, if anyone's interested in participating in the wedding show as a vendor or coming to the wedding show, it's weddingshows.com. On Facebook, Wedding Shows Windsor, as well as on Instagram, Wedding Shows Windsor. And then Run for Rocky, we are open for registration. It's a 5K run, 3K walk, Saturday, August 8th. Everyone says it's one of the most uplifting events that they've ever been part of. It's not competitive, it's fun, it's community, and that happens August 8th at Dieppe Gardens, and registration's open at runforrocky.com. And there you can find out a lot more about the funding model, applications for scholarships and grants as well.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat about your business and obviously, what you got going on in your personal life and everything that there is going on with Run for Rocky. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Everybody, that's another episode of Cracking the Success Vault here with Spectre Group. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. As always, you can find us everywhere, whether it's, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, podcasts, you know where to find us. Until next time.